Did you miss game one of Team USA in exhibition against Puerto Rico? When was that? Monday night. Did you only catch highlights? Curious how Brandon Ingram played? Want a little bit of detail? I got you. Let's get into it.
You must know that first. Can't nothing and nobody fade what we trying to do and what we about to do. Second thing is, we got this game on our level. You understand what I'm saying?
Welcome to another episode of In Space. I'm your host, Chris Connor. As always, got to give shout out to all our good people that support us here at DraftKings Sportsbook, Birdsall Law Firm. We got Jägermeister in the house. If you haven't already, audio, visual watchers, y'all see at the bottom, DraftKings Sportsbook, plug in the code. I promise y'all, I don't get no money from it. It ain't, but you know what I'm saying? Help yourself. Help yourself win some money. It's a free bet on us. That's really what it's about, right? Figure it out if you haven't already. Just make sure you do it responsibly. Gonna be a short show, man. I was able to watch a good majority of Team USA that they have in their first game Monday night's exhibition against Puerto Rico. Sure, you saw Jose Alvarado in attendance supporting his country, but they have 5 exhibition games with the next one coming up Saturday. So you can look at it as like a preseason of sorts. But I mean, it's them getting themselves in order, getting going against other talents versus having to deal with practicing against themselves, practicing against select team. And yeah, they beat the hell out of Puerto Rico. But there was a period of time, where Puerto Rico, specifically in the first half, was playing well, making the Pelicans, making Team USA work in the half court, similar to what we have heard and some of the things we had seen for some of the scrimmages. But eventually, and I talked about this in the show with Lito, that I thought, I mean, for most USA teams, this is with their kind of athletes, it's kind of the standard. But get in transition, share the ball, you're gonna be in good shape. But I'll be honest, man. They as a group, even for an exhibition, they shared the hell out of the basketball. Some individuals had their looks, had their opportunities, but they played like a team. Looked a little bit less clunky and you can only tell so much from film, from scrimmages. I wasn't actually there, but I did talk to a couple folks that were there, and they said that was the standard. They were trying to find themselves. Spacing was a little bit off, and it was going to take a little bit of time. And sure, Puerto Rico missing a couple guys that they were hoping were going to play. It's a different group of talent, but you got to like the mentality that they showed up with. But we'll get into it. If you watch the show, or if you're watching this show, you see the title, Brandon Ingram, the Glue Guy. If you by now, I would hope by the time this show drops, BI stat line in that first exhibition game was 11 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks. Played 22 minutes, shot 3 for 6 from the free throw line, 2 for 5 from 3, and 3 from 8 from the field overall. And look, man, I think what was most interesting, and shout out to the people that mentioned it. Shout out to Jeremy, who basically like BI the Glue Guy, because there were a lot of points of the game where between him playing power forward or being off the ball, and we know what kind of passer he is, and with some of the struggles that it looked like Team USA might have, and with Tyrese Halliburton not starting, and that could all develop. But I thought for when those starters were in, you would see a lot more Brandon kind of running offense, bringing the ball up. No, like Jalen Brunson, the guards did a lot of work. Edwards, they had a few. BI got his looks off sets, but he spent a lot of time off ball, had more than enough corner opportunities and looks. And it was interesting to watch, intriguing to watch, because, I like to think about what is Brandon, what can you apply that's going to be usable once the season actually starts? And, if you date back to when Brandon and Zion did play together, we'll specifically say last year, it wasn't many games, but to begin the year, you saw a lot of those looks from BI being in the corner on opposite sides of Zion, for example, or CJ, and versus him being in motion, versus him having to make a majority of the plays. I mean, talent and health definitely helps, right? You playing with some of the best and most talented players in the world. But him being able to be in the corner, and it looked like he was comfortable with it. And even some of the previous scrimmages saw him shooting a lot of threes, and he shot 5. I mean, imagine that 5. He shot the ball 8 times. 5 of them were 3-point attempts. And I think that's huge for him. There's been a want for him to shoot more threes. If the opportunities are there, and the best way for the opportunities to be there is health. But man, I mean, it could be interesting. Like, even let's say if Zion misses a few games and you have CJ and you have Trey out there, for example, if Trey is taking on a bigger role, a bigger responsibility offensively, you could still offer Brandon some really good looks off ball, not just in motion, coming off screens, get into his spots, but just simply as a 3-point shooter. And, I mean, he finished with 3 assists. He could have had about 6 or 7. The USA started off the game shooting the ball really bad from 3. I don't think they ended well. And that's going to be interesting how that develops. It's another thing. That's one of my worries with this team, is that depending on how often some of these guys play, will they have enough shooting consistently game to game? We'll have to see. But, man, when these type of events and exhibitions are on, you get an opportunity to watch these players who are a lot of times the best, second best, in some cases, worst case, third best player on their team. You get to see some of them in different roles that you're not used to. You get to see them sacrificing, shots, sacrificing offensive opportunities, or even defensive spotlights for the betterment of a system, of a role. And it was very dope to watch the entire team hustle. But look at some of the things that Brandon did. For example, this blocks has been shown quite a few times, but Brandon Ingram, the rim protector,
a lot of California career.
If anything, wants to play.
Career at Syracuse. Thompson blocked by Ingram. Numbers for the United States. Banchero with the ball fake.
Nice. Look, it wasn't like that was like this spectacular, setup. It was kind of put together on a platter. You would hope that anybody could do that, but it's still good to see. He finished the night with 2 blocks and could have had, I think, like 3 or 4. But it wasn't just the blocks. You want to see him definitely go above and beyond on the other side of the floor more nights. And listen, I mean, the trade with that in the NBA, right? This isn't, you talk about a handful of games for this setup. You talk about 82 plus games if you make the playoffs. When we're talking NBA, you got to monitor your body. You gotta find a way to keep yourself together, and you got to take care of yourself and not necessarily be reckless. But it was just good to see Brandon kind of do a little bit of everything and really, really get after it out there defensively. And hustling as well.
A lot of California kids, a lot of United States kids on Puerto Rico's team that have some ancestry. Nice save. Oh, what a play by.
Now look, I mean, a lot of individuals, and maybe even Brandon, if it was a regular, if it was game 32 in the NBA season, maybe he misses that shot, he's upset with himself, or is running back on the other side of the floor, or assumes that Puerto Rico, the team or the opponent, has the rebound, or hope that one of his guys gets it. No, he sees his opportunity, takes off quickly, gets to the ball, hustles, almost falls out of bounds, saves it, and Mikal Bridges ends up getting the layup there. It doesn't happen without Brandon's hustle. And you're talking about, one of your leaders from a Pelicans perspective. You want to see him do that more. You want to see him dive on the floor. You want to see him set the tone defensively, whether it's, a random night against the worst team, in basketball, or you're playing one of the better ones, not just nationally televised games. You want to see it on both sides of the coin. And that's one of the things that's going to be important for Brandon. You don't want him to get hurt. You don't want him doing too much. You don't want him acting, just doing everything and going, Dwayne Wade or Allen Iverson. I don't think he clearly doesn't have, I don't know if his body's made for that, but if that's supposed to be your leader, if that's your number 1 or your number 2 player, imagine what that can do for the rest of the guys that you already expected from Herb Jones. Imagine what it could do for some of your younger examples, Trey Murphy, even Zion Williamson, for example. And I'm curious to see this being in this mode where he has to be this individual. He is in a role, right? He's not. And again, we'll see how it changes, how it develops, going forward gradually. But look, no matter how, even if he has a game where he drops 30, he's going to do it within an offense and a system around other talented players that are gonna have to have their opportunities. So, you're gonna be in a role, being able to play that role. How does he transition and how does he make the best out of that while also getting the opportunity to shoot the ball whenever the hell he wants to most nights when he gets back to his job? And then the last thing that I wanna show here is, we've seen specifically over the last 3 years, Brandon add noticeable weight in the offseason. He's, he gets when the season ends, he starts to work after his body. And for someone that has a real thin frame, man, that's fine. I just watched. If y'all get a chance, watch Chad's show. I believe he said that in one of his shows. It's a brilliant concept. But yeah, for a dude with his frame, he's sometimes he may gain 5-10 pounds, and you might not even be able, to really notice it, but you've been able to see it. Specifically, I say in the last 2 years, but for sure, you've been hearing about it specifically the past 3, and this year was no different. You can see it in his shoulders, but you want to see how it transitions to his game. And I saw a few plays from Monday's game where he was just bullying his opponent. And you don't really think of Brandon when it comes to finishing, of having those kind of opportunities. Yeah, he dunks a couple times. He gets people out of his way every now and then. But him having the opportunity to boulder through individuals should help him finish. Just even if it helps him finish stronger over folks or through contact or creating the contact when trying to get to the line, it's huge. Not being in situations where maybe he tweaks something because he's just not strong enough. But we're also talking post play. We're talking about being in the post, talking about boxing out. We're talking about there's some elements of rebounding that could be affected with added strength. The list goes on and on. His ability out the post offensively, on the move, being bumped off his spots. These are things that slowly but surely he's been trying to get better and add some weight. I wouldn't be able to guess how much he weighs right now, but here's an example of this. And if he can get some easier looks like these in actual NBA games for a dude that takes a lot of tough shots, man. And look, health is needed, so he's not looking at boxes and elbows consistently. You would hope, right? But without teams having to pay. But here's an example of him showing off that strength. And that, that didn't look like, I looked at it a couple times, like, did he give him an elbow? Nah, he kind of kept his arm, attached, for the most part. It just moved him out of the way. That could be big, a big development. I don't expect him all of a sudden to become Carmelo Anthony of LeBron James. That's not what I'm saying at all. But he's a guy that could benefit a lot from continuing to add in strength and working on his body in a lot of different ways. And it looks like, this has been another offseason of doing it. And it's good to see in live action. For Team USA, it looks like he's been playing a lot of power forward, where you see some of that for the actual Pelicans. I'm curious to see how it all plays out, man. We'll see. They play their next game is Saturday, I believe, against Slovenia, and then Sunday against Greece, if I'm right, or Spain. It might be Spain. I think it's Slovenia Saturday and then Spain on Sunday. So hope the squad continues to play well. Wish for good health for all parties involved, and appreciate y'all as always. If you missed the last show, it was also about Brandon Ingram. There's going to be a lot of talk on all of our shows, on most shows, about Brandon Ingram, because there ain't nothing else to talk about. We ain't seen Zion. We don't know what Zion look like. Herb and Trey are with the select team. Jose's out there. Like, what else is there really for us? The Dyson's out there. There ain't really a whole bunch to really talk about. There's going to be a lot of Brandon talk. So if you don't like Brandon Ingram, I hope you still watch the show. I'm not even going to do that, man. So, but shout out to y'all as always, man. Please check in if you haven't already with everything Boo Crew's doing. Shout out, check out the show the Me Leader 15 just did. Check out the Leader 15 also did another show. We were on Pro Pros Talk as well with Justin. Shout out them. Shout out the show. Told you already the fire show that Chaz just put out. And the know will have some stuff soon. Connect with the network, man, as always. Love y'all. Thanks for keep popping up. Get in the comments. Let me know what you thought about Brandon's game. What do you want to see more of from him? What did you like? What didn't you like? What do you hope that he's able to gain from this experience? And, yeah, man, I'll holler at y'all after Saturday's game unless another idea pops into my head. Until then, Najee.
In the building. I told you last time, get with us. Well, get out of here, man.